Yo, ZcriptureZ here. Today I'm going to show you how I make my thumbnails on YouTube. And the first thing I usually do is I will record some gameplay using my Elgato game capture. I have that hooked up to from my PC to my laptop. My laptop is the main computer that I use to edit my videos and to make my thumbnails and do all that kind of worky kind of stuff. That's why I bought this laptop. So I'm on my laptop right now. I'm showing you the Elgato game capture software that I use. I recorded some just like random footage. If you see here, there's just a bunch of random footage of me actually just shooting the gun that I'm gonna be using for the thumbnail. So what I did first is I landed up disabling the UI in the game because you can still see on the top here, you see it says players needed to start a round. I didn't want to have anything in my screen, so I typed in the command, which I'm going to just show you right now in a second. It's right there, UI draw enable and then space 0. So you want to type that into the game and it will disable the UI. And if you want to bring the UI back on, all you got to do is retype that and then put a 1 instead of a 0 and it'll put back the UI. You see, it disables the UI completely after you type after you put 0 under that, and then you're able to make your thumbnail. So I went ahead and I just kind of took a screenshot of the best piece that I felt like I wanted to keep, and then I pressed the screenshot button right here, and then we take it into Photoshop. Okay, now that I got my thumbnail, I'm just going to grab it and drag it right into Photoshop. And the first thing you want to do is you want to make sure that the frame size is 1280 by 720. The main reason why I do this is because every time I used to upload a picture, at least a thumbnail, in 1080p, it always lands up having some issue where YouTube would say, oh, the scale is too high, or maybe the thumbnail will load up, but then it won't be in the final video because of some complication or error. So I stopped doing it in 1080p and I started putting my thumbnails in 720p. So if you need to downscale it down to 720, you just go up to image, you go to image size, and then you just downscale it from there, 1280 by 720. Okay, so now that I got my thumbnail, what I like to do is I like to cut out the gun, and then I like to blur out the background of my photo. So in order to do this, you have to make a duplicate of your layer that you started off with, which is this piece right here. I'm going to duplicate the layer. Press OK. Now, the layer on the bottom is going to be the one that's blurred out. The one on the top is going to be the one that's the gun by itself. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to outline the gun by using my quick selection tool right here on the left side. Click that. You can make it the size that you want to make it. Doesn't matter. Like, as long as you can fit it within the gun, you don't want to make it too big, and then it ends up like grabbing too much of the background. So all you want to do is just kind of outline everything. So you get it all outlined like this. See, if you get any extra pieces right here, you see this is starting to grab some of the background. You want to hold Alt and you want to left click, and it'll start taking off some of that. So you can delete some of that excess stuff. Then you just keep playing with it until you're able to get everything you want to get. Alright, there we go. Now that we got it for the most part, now what we're gonna do is you're gonna go to refine edge, and you want to make sure you refine your edges. You see, it looks kind of chunky and weird. So I could go back and I could keep scaling it, or I could just play around with the settings here and see if I can kind of brush it out. Sometimes you're better off actually going back to the main image and just like fixing the problems that you see there. So I'm just gonna make a little bit of reshaping, make sure that it's actually a little bit better than before. A lot of times you can't get it perfect. I mean, you don't want to sit here all day tinkering around with this thing. You just want to kind of get it done as quickly as possible. At least I like to get it done as quickly as possible. I don't want to spend all day doing this. So I think that's good enough. I'm gonna just circle the radius a little bit so that it will kind of get rid of some of that excess crap. Add some smoothing, and there we go. Now it looks so much better. So you add a little bit of radius, add a little smoothing. You just start playing with the settings, and then you can kind of fix it up. Smoothing is going to be the main one you want to mess with. Then you press OK. Now that that's there, you add a layer mask on the bottom right. Click that, and now it should be the weapon by itself. There it is. So now what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to blur out the background. So to blur out the background, you want to click on the layer of the background. Make sure you don't click it on the weapon, which is that bottom layer there. I'm going to go up to filter. I'm going to go to blur, and then I'm going to do Gaussian blur, which is right here, Gaussian blur. And you want to add whatever kind of radius you feel like. I like putting 4.6, but I feel like that's the perfect kind of blur for me. Because you don't want to get any too crazy, because look, and then it just starts getting weird. You see, now it's weird. Now it's not going to do anything for the image. And if you do too little, then it won't add that kind of flavor that you're kind of looking for, you know? So I add 4.6. I feel like that's a safe point. I press OK. And now you see the background is really blurry, so it looks really cool. And then I go ahead on my gun layer, and what I do is I would add some coloring. Usually I would add just like at least a brightness filter. So I'll add, you see, I'll just add the brightness. It's brightening the whole picture, but don't worry about that because I'm gonna merge the layer in a second. See, I add a little bit of contrast, so I can add some kind of level of detail. And then I'm gonna grab this. You see, this is the brightness and contrast piece that I just added. I'm gonna hold Control, and I'm gonna press my layer of the gun, and then I'm gonna right click and go to merge layers, and boom, you see, now the gun is bright and it has that same contrast thing that I just added. Then what I like to do is I like to throw my thumbnail, my usual ZcriptureZ little logo. I have one already made. This, I always just use the same thing. It's a 720p PNG file that I created, and I just grab that, throw it onto the back, boom. See, it's over the top of everything. And then I'll add some text. So I'll go ahead and I'll name it, so this is going to be a review on the automatical. And I'm going to just type that on there. I usually put it all in caps because it looks cooler. So automatical, and then this is M1918 factory. I think I spelled it right. Yeah, that's it. So there we go. I add my text. Now I just resize it. So what I like to do is I usually I know everybody has different ways of doing this, but this is my methods. I hold shift and then I click on the edge here and I just kind of resize it however size I want. And then you can go ahead and just kind of stylize it, do whatever you want with it. And you see, like in this case, you see how the gun, it's the words are over the gun. What I like to do to add a little bit more flavor to it is I will throw the gun image that I made, which is this piece right here. It's called the brightness contrast now. I don't know why, but probably because of that merge layer. You grab that and throw it over everything, and you see it's actually over the F in factory, so it looks pretty cool. So then I have my words there. I'm going to find my text. I double click on it. Wait, sometimes you gotta click on it on the edge, but you could just right click and go to blending options, but I like to double click it. Go to the blending options, I drop a shadow. I like to change the color, so I'll change the color outlet to like yellow, so you can just go right in there and cover overlay, change that to whatever color you want. I drop the shadows. I usually put the spread out and the size. I leave the distance 0 because I don't like the shadow to actually appear. I just want it to actually highlight the words. So I do that, boom. So I'm gonna add I'm gonna type down, you know, something general that I feel like this weapon really speaks of. It's definitely gonna be the insane fire rate. This is the main reason why I'm doing this review of this gun. So boom, insane fire rate is what I'm gonna name it. I decided to just keep it over the top. I'm not gonna be putting it underneath because it just looks too weird. So I'm gonna go ahead and drop a shadow, and that's it. There it is. So automatical M1918 factory, insane fire rate. That's the thumbnail. So now I'm just gonna throw it on the YouTube and let the video fly. Let's see what happens. Well, anyway, thanks for watching, guys. Leave that thumbs up if you liked it. Thumbs down if you didn't. And I hope that helped you guys out with making your thumbnails on YouTube. Alright, take care, guys.